We have the next 10 minutes, Lala, the Regional Vice President of Sales at Vistar Media. He's going to talk to us today about the future of outdoor advertising. So a warm welcome for Raj. Raj.
Hey, everybody. Hopefully I know how this thing works. Green button, all right. I'm Raj Lala with Vistar, and I'm excited to talk to you guys a little bit on what's on the horizon for outdoor advertising. Vistar is the leading programmatic technology ecosystem for digital out-of-home. We work with brands and agencies to think about how you can elevate out-of-home as part of your digital and omnichannel strategy. We just came out with something brand new that we're presenting for the first time, so I'm excited to show that to all of you. So we're going to start with a quick video, and then we'll dive in. There we go.
The world is perpetually adapting to new consumer routines. As people's priorities evolve, brands are fighting to retain loyalty. It is essential to capitalize on the most opportune moments to stay as relevant as possible. Imagine being able to connect with your audiences beyond their devices, instantly and dynamically throughout the day. Whether it's making a big splashy brand debut, sharing a reminder at the neighborhood street corner, or promoting a product offering in retail and at the point of sale. We are Vistar Media, and we've spent the last decade perfecting how to connect brands and consumers in the physical world. From real-time offers and directions to social integrations and live data feeds, Vistar now brings a full suite of first-to-market capabilities that allow brands to activate dynamic creative across all venue formats globally. The future of out-of-home advertising is here.
Cool, so I'm going to break down how that all works for you a little bit, but I want to give you guys a little bit of a foundation before we do that. So coming out of the pandemic, there was a huge need and want to re-engage with consumers outside of the home. As we all know, our routines changed, the predictable patterns of behavior had changed, and brands had been a little bit more hesitant, in late 2020, early 2021, on reinvesting in something that was a little bit more unknown. 2021 is where we really saw an acceleration in the adoption of wanting to buy out-of-home programmatically. This past year, we ran over 20,000 campaigns with 1,400 brands, and they really embraced the ability to be present at every little touch point throughout people's days, but with the power and flexibility that programmatic out-of-home has to offer. Now, 2022 is our 10-year anniversary. And we've learned a lot, helping build this channel from the ground up and crossing a lot of the hurdles out of home has had to face in a digital-first world. And I myself, coming from a digital background, joined Vistar 7 years ago and was really fascinated by all the different aspects the world of out-of-home had to offer. Outside of billboards and urban panels and these environments a lot of us are familiar with, there were so many different environments that brands had an opportunity to engage and reach different consumers. Even myself, when I first joined, would get excited when I'm walking my dog down the street and able to see a campaign my team worked on come to life on the neighborhood street corner. And a lot of the assumptions I had about out-of-home a while ago are a lot that many brands still today, hold true. Many people still think out-of-home is extremely fragmented, and difficult to scale, especially as part of a national media plan or big play which you're activating across your other digital channels. And our founding team realized this 10 years ago. So after selling Invite Media to Google, becoming the backbone of DV360, they went to all the big media owners, integrated our technology, helped them automate the way that inventory was made available. And today, we sit on a platform of over 500,000 screens across hundreds of providers in a multitude of countries, and it has become the single universal largest access point for out-of-home inventory in the world. That was great for the supply side. We aggregated that. When it comes to the buy side, right, brands are like, okay, you have all these screens. How do I target and measure my media when activating in this channel, right? I could throw a billboard up, but what is it actually going to do for my overall end goals? And that's where we thought, we have to approach this the same way brands are layering on audiences and data for their other digital mediums. So we approached the biggest players in the space, from the live ramps to the Epsilons, the Foursquares, the IRIs, and made that data actionable for out-of-home targeting. And on the flip side, also enabling brands to tie that back to brand lift, foot traffic lift, sales lift, and even site conversions in many instances. So we had the supply, we had the tools for demand. We brought this to market a while ago, and what we found is that out-of-home continued to sit very siloed from all the other strategy that was happening, especially across the digital mediums, right? A lot of the tools weren't really applicable to out-of-home back then, so it only made sense. So we worked really diligently with a lot of the agency holding companies, independent groups, and brands to figure out where does this best fit within your strategy. For some agencies, they wanted to own it within their out-of-home department. For others, they wanted to consolidate it within programmatic. And then in the instances where it's really scaled, we've worked with them to develop some experts from either department and created out-of-home trading groups that sit alongside the other digital channels, right, to kind of speak to that omni-channel activation strategy. Now, after we had all these components together is when it really clicked, as I said, and we saw things really started to accelerate. So this year, we really wanted to focus on something that was a request from a lot of our clients and a pain point from an execution perspective. Dynamic out-of-home is something a lot of our brands have done in a one-off basis, usually in a more manual way or with an individual provider in a certain market to execute. So when we set out to create a solution, we wanted to make sure it could be universally applicable to your wider out-of-home strategy. And over the last 6 months, our team has worked really hard on this, and just a couple weeks ago, we released our full suite of dynamic out-of-home capabilities. And essentially what this allows anyone to do is serve the most relevant ad content in real time across every single digital out-of-home ad play across the entire out-of-home inventory landscape. And how is this possible, right? So many different out-of-home media owners are operating on unique content management systems. They all support different spec sizes. So it's really difficult to do at scale. But because we had the history of building this technology stack that was already integrated with all these providers, what we did was we were able to build a real-time creative rendering service on top of our supply-side platform that allows you to create a template, so we can work with you to create a template for your ads with your creative agency or directly, and designate a dynamic container within that creative. So every time an ad was served, we're calling for whatever that specific criteria you may want to show during that ad play. Now, there's a variety of different dynamic executions that are possible, so I'm going to kind of break it down into three main categories. Conditional triggers being the first one. So this is something we've done a lightweight version of for years, whether it's time of day, day of week, pretty basic stuff. But when combining the triggers with the ability to show dynamic creative, it really takes it to the next level. So whether that's you want your brand to show a certain ad based on specific weather conditions in a certain area, or maybe gas prices in a certain market, or even local traffic patterns on a specific street in a certain area. The opportunities are really endless on you showing just the most relevant ad to speak to the consumer in whatever environment they're in. The second being location-based, so this is really great for retailer-based strategies, anything shopper marketing related, or even localized promotions. So if you want to show your product with the distance or directions to the closest store, you want to pop in the closest retailer within the creative, or maybe you have specialized pricing or promotions in specific markets that you're activating. This enables you to do that seamlessly across all your markets that you're targeting. And lastly is data is creative. So this is where you can really let your mind run wild in terms of what are the opportunities that are possible based on the different inputs that we can ingest for you. This is just an example here, but we're running a really large program right now for a sports playoff initiative where across the 16 playoff markets, we're feeding in game time countdowns, live scoring, hometown winners, and even social feeds of tweets from the teams to their local fans. Here's just a snapshot of some of those capabilities that we discussed and more, but this is just scratching the surface on what is possible using dynamic in the world of out-of-home. Vistar is establishing a lot of our own direct API integrations to enable you to kind of tap into any data source you'd like, but we welcome brands to also bring their own custom data sources to the table, whether that's for moderation purposes, maybe there's something specific that you're collecting that you want to showcase as part of your campaigns. It really is kind of open-ended to however you can think about leveraging it. Now for consumer goods, I think another really exciting piece of this is not limiting it to just outdoor placements. Having the ability to do this outdoor, but also in-store and at the point of purchase across many of the major US retailers. And we've found, when you're able to reach someone with consistent, relevant messaging across both the path to purchase and point of purchase, the results are really astounding in terms of just being able to see that lift in intent and consideration for that product, without getting in their way, without disrupting them, as a lot of our brands we've heard speak today have pointed to, and even in Lisa's last presentation, seeing the success on, identifying what are those points across that path that are going to make the most impact, and dynamic just really adds that additional element to make that creative stand out that much more. Now, from an activation perspective, if you are asking like, oh, can I only do this within the Vistar platform? And the short answer is no. When we set out to build our technology, we wanted it to power the entire digital out-of-home landscape. So outside of being able to access it with Vistar, we are integrated with the leading omnichannel DSPs in the market, as well as a lot of the different out-of-home buying platforms that are out there. So if you, as a brand, have consolidated your media strategy within the Trade Desk or within Yahoo, we could really help you bring some exciting out-of-home opportunities to life alongside all the other media you're running in there, and even capturing that exposure and retargeting consumers across the other channels as well. That said, we've been doing this a long time. We've built a platform that does have the most advanced features when it comes to the nuances of out-of-home, from planning to activation to measurement. So if anyone's interested in learning more, or you simply want to chat about some ideas on out-of-home and how you could level up your own strategy as part of your media mix, we're open to discussing how we can best help you. Thanks and appreciate it, and look forward to spending time with you all.